Two couples booked the same cruise, same ship, same dates, same cabin category. One couple paid $3,200 more and never realized why. In this video, I'm breaking down the 10 biggest cruise booking mistakes that quietly cost people thousands. Mistakes so common most travelers don't even realize they're making them. And here's the scary part. If you've booked a cruise before, you've probably made at least one of these. Mistake number 7 alone is the reason many people think cruises are too expensive, when they're actually not. Cruise pricing is intentionally confusing. Two people rarely pay the same price for the same cruise, and that's by design. Cruise lines profit from confusion, not transparency. Cruises aren't expensive. Booking them wrong is. Subscribe now if you want to stop overpaying and learn smarter cruise booking strategies before your next trip. Mistake 1. Believing the advertised price is the real price. Most people see a cruise advertised for a low price and assume that's the final cost. That number feels official, it feels complete, and it feels safe. But it's not. The price you see on a cruise website is almost always just the base fare, and that base fare hides a long list of additional costs that only appear later in the booking process, or worse, after you've already committed. Here's what actually happens. A cruise advertised at $699 per person often ends up costing $1,200 or more once you add mandatory taxes, port fees, daily gratuities, drinks, Wi-Fi, and shore excursions. And none of those are optional if you want a normal cruise experience. That's how people blow their budget without realizing it. They don't overspend intentionally. They simply plan based on the wrong number. Cruise lines rely on this misunderstanding. They know most travelers compare cruises using the advertised price instead of the true per-person total. And by the time the real cost becomes clear, most people are already emotionally invested and unlikely to walk away. The fix is simple, but most people skip it. Before booking, calculate the total cost per person, including everything you're likely to use on board. Drinks, gratuities, internet, excursions. Only then can you fairly compare one cruise to another. If this surprised you, comment, "Wow," because this mistake alone catches almost everyone. And unfortunately, even if you understand pricing, the next mistake can still cost you hundreds more. Mistake 2. Booking at the wrong time. This mistake sounds obvious, but most people still get it wrong. Many travelers believe cruises are cheapest if you book as early as possible. Others wait for a last-minute deal hoping prices will drop. Both approaches can work, and both can fail badly if you don't understand how cruise pricing actually works. Cruise prices fluctuate constantly. They rise and fall based on demand, cabin availability, promotions, and sailing popularity. And booking at the wrong moment can quietly cost you $150 to $250 per person on a 7-night cruise. For a couple, that's $500 or more lost for the exact same trip. What makes this worse is that most people stop paying attention once they book. They assume the price is locked in. But cruise prices often drop after booking, sometimes significantly, and cruise lines will not notify you when that happens. This is one of the most common mistakes I see in comments. The fix is understanding price cycles and tracking your cruise after you book it, especially before final payment. In many cases, you can reprice your cruise or receive onboard credit if the price drops, but only if you catch it in time. Timing doesn't mean guessing. It means monitoring, understanding patterns, and staying flexible when possible. And even if you book at the perfect time, you can still ruin the experience with the next mistake, which most people don't realize until they're already on board. Mistake 3. Choosing the wrong cabin for your itinerary. The problem isn't cheap cabins, it's bad cabin strategy. Most people choose a cabin based on price or perceived luxury. Balcony versus interior. Cheap versus expensive. But the real issue isn't how much the cabin costs, it's whether that cabin makes sense for your specific cruise. Choosing the wrong cabin can lead to constant motion sickness. sleepless nights from engine or nightclub noise, or paying extra for a view that's partially or completely obstructed. And once you're on board, there's usually nothing you can do about it. Cabin location matters more than cabin category. For example, lower and midship cabins are far more stable for rough seas, while cabins near public venues can suffer from non-stop noise. Certain itineraries also make balconies far less useful, while others make them absolutely worth it. This is where many travelers overspend or under-optimize. They pay more for the wrong cabin or save money in the worst possible place. The fix is matching your cabin type and location to the length of the cruise, the route, and how much time you'll actually spend in the room. A smart cabin choice can improve comfort, reduce fatigue, and prevent problems that make people swear they'll never cruise again. Now pause, because the next mistake should have been higher on this list. If cruises ever felt overpriced to you, you're about to understand why. Mistake 4. Ignoring repositioning and one-way cruises. Some of the cheapest cruises in the world aren't advertised in the places most people look. That's because they don't fit the traditional idea of a round-trip vacation, and cruise lines don't promote them heavily. These are called repositioning cruises. Repositioning cruises happen when ships move from one region to another, like from Europe to the Caribbean or Alaska to Asia. Because these sailings are about logistics, not tourism, cruise lines often slash prices just to fill cabins. That's how you'll see cruises drop to $50 to $80 per night, sometimes for 10, 12, or even 14 nights. The catch is that they're usually one-way, have more sea days, and may start and end in different countries. Most travelers ignore these cruises because they feel inconvenient. But that inconvenience is exactly why they're so cheap. If you have flexibility with dates, departure ports, or flight routes, repositioning cruises can deliver some of the best value in cruising. You get longer itineraries, fewer crowds, and a lower cost per night than almost any standard sailing. The fix is simple. Stop searching only for round-trip cruises from your home port. Look at one-way sailings, shoulder season departures, and ships changing regions. Flexibility equals massive savings. And if you've ever felt like cruises nickel and dime you once you're on board, the next mistake explains exactly why. Mistake 5. Paying for packages. You don't actually use cruise packages, sound like a good deal. Drink packages, Wi-Fi packages, dining packages. They're marketed as convenient and money-saving. But for many travelers, they're not. Take drink packages as an example. Most require you to consume 6 to 7 alcoholic drinks per day, every single day, just to break even. Miss a port day. Wake up late. Skip drinking one afternoon. Suddenly, you're paying more than you would have a la carte. The same logic applies to internet and dining packages. You're paying up front for maximum usage, even if your actual behavior doesn't match that assumption. This is how people quietly overspend. Not because they're reckless, but because they never stop to do the math. The fix is to calculate your real habits before you buy anything. Ask how much you actually drink, how often you'll use Wi-Fi, and whether specialty dining fits your routine. Packages aren't bad, but buying the wrong ones is expensive. And if you've ever wondered why one cruise feels like a great deal while another feels overpriced, the next mistake explains that difference. Mistake 6. Comparing cruise lines incorrectly. Cheap doesn't mean good value, and expensive doesn't mean better. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of cruise booking. Two cruises can have similar base prices but deliver completely different experiences and final costs. For example, one cruise line might include drinks, Wi-Fi, gratuities, and specialty dining in the fare. Another might charge extra for every single one of those. On paper, the cheaper cruise looks like the better deal, but once on board, the total cost can be much higher. This is where many travelers get burned. They compare cruises using the sticker price instead of the total value. The fix is to compare what's actually included. Look beyond the headline fare and evaluate what you're paying for in real terms: comfort, inclusions, and overall experience. A cruise that costs more upfront can easily be cheaper in the end. And once you understand this, it becomes clear why so many people walk away from cruises thinking they overpaid when the real problem was how they compared their options. Mistake 7. Booking without price protection. This mistake alone has cost people more money than any other on this list. Most travelers assume that once a cruise is booked, the price is locked in. They stop paying attention. They move on. And they never look back. That's exactly when the problem starts. Cruise prices drop after booking all the time, sometimes by hundreds of dollars per person. Promotions change. Cabins open up. Demand shifts. But cruise lines will not notify you when prices go down. If you don't catch the price drop yourself, you simply overpay. This is one of the most frustrating mistakes because it's completely avoidable. Two people can book the same cruise on the same day, and the one who monitors pricing ends up paying far less for the exact same experience. The fix is knowing your final payment date and monitoring prices until then. If the price drops, many cruise lines allow you to reprice, upgrade cabins, or receive onboard credit, but only if you ask before final payment. Once final payment passes, your leverage disappears. Cruise lines count on travelers not paying attention after booking. Don't give them that advantage, because even if you get the cruise price right, the next mistake can quietly double your total trip cost. Mistake 8. Underestimating flights and transfers. A cheap cruise can instantly become an expensive vacation because of airfare. Many travelers focus entirely on the cruise fare and treat flights as an afterthought. But flights, hotels, and transfers can easily match or exceed the cost of the cruise itself. This happens most often when people book cruises departing from limited or expensive airports. Last-minute airfare spikes, forced overnight hotel stays, costly transfers to the port. Suddenly, a great deal isn't a deal at all. The fix is thinking about transportation before you book the cruise. Choosing smarter departure ports, even if they require a short flight or drive, can dramatically lower total costs. Locking flights early also protects you from price surges and gives you more options if schedules change. The smartest cruise travelers plan the entire journey, not just the ship. And if you've ever felt like one unexpected problem could ruin the whole trip, the next mistake explains why that fear exists. Mistake 9. Skipping travel insurance for the wrong reason. Travel insurance is one of the most misunderstood parts of cruise booking. Some people buy it out of fear. Others skip it entirely because they think nothing will go wrong. Both approaches miss the point. Travel insurance isn't about panic. It's about strategy. Cruises are unique because if you miss embarkation, the ship does not wait. A delayed flight, a missed connection, or a weather disruption can mean losing the entire cruise, not just a portion of it. That's a loss most people don't budget for. The fix is choosing insurance based on risk exposure, not anxiety. The longer the cruise, the more expensive the trip, or the more complex the travel, the more insurance makes sense. Insurance isn't always necessary, but when it is, skipping it can be devastating. And finally, there's one mistake that ties every other one together. Mistake 10. Booking without a long-term strategy. This is the biggest mistake of all. Cruise booking isn't one decision, it's a system. Most people book cruises in isolation, one trip at a time, no pattern, no strategy. And that's how small mistakes compound into massive losses over time. Booking at the wrong time, choosing the wrong cabin, overpaying for extras, missing price drops. None of these alone seem catastrophic, but over multiple cruises, they can cost tens of thousands of dollars. The fix is thinking long-term. Budget backward instead of forward. Be strategic with timing. Stay flexible with ports and itineraries. Learn from each trip instead of repeating the same errors. The people who say cruising is expensive usually aren't wrong. They're just booking without a system. Avoid that mistake, and cruises stop feeling overpriced and start feeling like one of the best travel values available. Avoiding just 2 of these mistakes could literally pay for your next cruise. Most people don't overspend on cruises because they're careless. They overspend because no one ever explains how cruise pricing actually works. Once you understand the system, everything changes. What used to feel expensive suddenly makes sense, and what used to feel confusing becomes predictable. If this video saved you money, take a second to like it. That tells the algorithm this was worth showing to other travelers who don't want to overpay. And if you want weekly cruise money hacks, smarter booking strategies, and tips that actually help you travel better for less, subscribe and turn on notifications.